Hello, I'm Away.
And Snake, and you're listening to Agoraphobic News.
Can you recall your last time in Belgrade?
We had an amazing time. It was a club around the corner. Many people showed up, and we went to the castle with the tanks and dinosaurs, and it was really nice. I will always remember it.
Yeah, and you guys just released a new song. The new video for the song Iconspiracy. Can you share the concept? What is like the idea behind it?
Well, it's part of the whole concept of the album. It's one story of many of them, but the story itself, it's about as the story goes by, it gets to a point where there's a lot of conflict because of that sort of like big news that came worldwide, and the elite of the world try to keep the people controlled, and so there's a lot of conspiracy in it, but it's part of the whole concept. Yeah.
So it's like the continuation of these chapters that Voivod has in the past.
Oh, it's not part of the Voivod is not involved. It's not part of the Voivod stories of the 80s. But the album, Snake wrote a whole story for the album.
And are you, Snake, the first guy in metal that had gas mask as a part of the image? Were you the first guy?
I think so. I think when we started up, I came up with it, and then other bands, kind of like took that direction of wearing masks, like Slipknot or stuff like that. But I think, it was my thing back in the days.
And what did gas mask mean to you?
Well, back in the days, we were all dressed up with big outfit, And I wanted to create like a character, like a nuclear character, and so we had like spikes and everything, and I had like a machine, like a handmade sort of like fog machine. It was like spraying.
Is that in the Ritz, live at Ritz in '86?
Yeah.
With the gas mask.
Yeah.
It's great.
And you have to think about the Cold War era, the Reagan era, with the nuclear menace and all that. So it's part of our background.
Yeah, of course. And how violent were the fans? Metalheads in Canada back in the day. Was there a lot of fights between metalheads and skinheads, punks?
There was a period of time where it wasn't. People were going to the shows. Sometimes there was fight, but it didn't last for a long time. I think people got together for sing shows, and no matter who got there, if they were punk or skinhead or gothic or whatever, they got mixed together because there were so many crossover in the music as well, and so it didn't last for long,
Many hardcore bands became metal, and many metal bands became hardcore. Now all of a sudden you had D.R.I, COC, Voivod, and everybody's like getting along at shows. But for a year or two, between let's say '83 and '85, people were trying to figure out how to get along. And but soon enough, it was a big thrash metal scene.
You guys toured with D.R.I and Agnostic front, right?
We played shows with them, yeah.
Can you recall some of these moments?
It's pretty mad, and the craziest show was the show at the Ritz with Venom and Chromax. This was like I will always remember the mayhem. Yeah.
When did that happen?
in '86 in New York. It was our very first U.S. show. Yeah.
And you guys also toured with Possessed in 1986 in Europe.
Yeah.
Can you guys recall that maybe?
Oh, we had a great time with these boys. They were a bunch of young kids, and well, we were young as well. But the fun part was like we were both discovering Europe, and so Europe is totally different than America, and for us and for them, I mean, we were like, oh, how does it work, like stupid things, like the normal things that, you go into an hotel and then you got the timing for the light, and like, oh, okay, I gotta run to my room because the light's gonna shut down and stuff like that. But it was fun, and I remember Debbie Abono was, she was a tour manager, and she was great. She's like a really nice woman, and she was taking care of. She was the mom of everybody, and yeah.
And we were lucky to be part of the explosion of thrash metal, because all of a sudden we're touring the world with Celtic Frost, Creator, Possessed. So it's really like great memories for us.
Yeah, and you guys in 1986, you were in West Berlin, and did that fact help you maybe to come up with a concept for the Killing Technology album, because it was more personal?
Of course, there was a feeling of a weird feeling of oppression. It was like we were by the wall, and you could hear like a helicopter over your head, and it's like this kind of feeling like kind of surreal and oppressive, and so it really helped us in a way to build up Killing Technology and Dimension Hatross as well.
And were you really afraid of the Chernobyl because it happened that year in 1986?
We talked about it in Overreaction, the Chernobyl accident, the Challenger explosion, Reagan's Tower project, and all that stuff really had an imprint on, and also recording in Berlin also influenced the sound of the album, especially with the producer Harris Jones. He had a lot of electronic gear that we fooled around with, and like these were like very important years for us, the noise record years, where we evolved very, very rapidly. And lately, BMG released the Killing Tech, Dimension Hatross, Roar, and they also released the best of noise years. And between '86 and '88, it's unbelievable the improvement we had, I think.
Yeah, and what's like the song Cockroaches about?
Well, it was about because we were living in the same apartment full of it.
It's when we moved to Montreal, when we after War and Pain was released, we moved from way up north in Quebec to Montreal, and we had $150 each a month from the government welfare, so we were really, really poor, and so we moved in a small apartment with we shared the apartment with Cockroaches.
What does this Dimension Hatross, this word, what does it mean? Hatross,
It's based on a few French words and English words, and like Hatross, like atrocity, or Hatross, hate, and it's a mixture, but it's a made-up word. We just tried to find a name for a dimension that the Voivod created in a laboratory, so we came up with Dimension Hatross. Yeah.
And I was reading these old interviews, and I realized that Piggy had cancer back in 1988. So how shocking was that for you guys?
It was a sad year. We canceled the world tour.
When was that? 1988?
Yes, 88. We ended up touring USA with violence, but we canceled a whole European tour, and Piggy got some treatment, and eventually it's stabilized. So it was a scary, very scary moment.
Yeah. And who are Chaosmongers?
One of the character and the whole thing. I mean,
it almost would be like the black block of the concept. and they were like sort of enemies of the technocratic manipulators, and it's part of the story. Yeah.
And who are then technocratic manipulators?
Some of Big Brother type of government, and it's heavily influenced by, I think, the Berlin atmosphere of them. Yeah.
And these Chaosmongers, they're basically terrorists. And was this song inspired maybe by some terrorist attack?
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah. It's sort of, yeah, it's sort of a mixture between. Since they are anti-government, it's sort of a mixture between terrorists and anarchists, and it's not like there are the good ones or the bad ones, or same with technocratic manipulator. It's hard to tell in the story which is good and which is bad, and that it's on purpose. Yeah.
And who are warriors of ice?
That's us.
Yeah.
It's because we come from way up north, and where it's really cold, the winter is long, we had northern lights and everything, so it actually comes from a Holocaust song from the band Holocaust. Yeah,
The nightcomers.
the Nightcomers.
So
Yeah.
was the hardcore scene like big influence in you guys?
Hardcore scene. Oh yeah, we listened to Discharge, GBH, and the U.S. Hardcore suicidal tendencies, and yeah, it had a strong influence. Mainly the anarchist movement. It had a strong influence on us lyrically as well, I think. Yeah.
And did these guys get into politics more than?
Yeah, that's what I liked about it, and also it was a different kind of crossover because there was punk and metal, and then all of a sudden these kind of like mixed together, and it was less about Satan and everything, and more about conflicts and chaos and
Yeah.
different type of
Do you
lyrics.
guys think that Margaret, Thatcher, and Reagan had an impact on heavy metal? In terms of lyrics.
They had an input on both heavy metal and punk, and yeah, so with the exploited and all that, and so I mean, it's part of the 80s, really.
Yeah.
And what is this song, The Strange and Ironic, about?
Oh my God. Got so many songs out there.
We have
I don't remember actually.
we'd have to remember the lyrics first. we haven't.
About, against the Middle East, I mean against the invasion of Iraq, because the song's like about the Middle East is burning or something like that. I forgot the lyrics.
Yeah, it could be because it's right when it happened. Yeah.
Because it's 2003.
Yes. Yeah.
And what's like the idea behind Morgoth science costume?
Oh, yeah. This was more about experiments on animals, but we transformed it as well. Experiments on humans, and it's more about animal rights and stuff like that. Yeah.
You guys are like from the industrial town from Canada, and did this industrial parks had an impact on you guys as a band? Because you, just like in Birmingham, it's all green, dark, it's
Yeah.
smoke.
Yeah, of course we were close to industrial part of the town. It's a small town, and everything that make the town make it lives. It's industries, and there was a big there's a big aluminum factory nearby where we're living, and it was like a big lake full of bauxite, and it was kind of like purple, orange, red mixture, and it was so surreal to get there and see all. It was freaking out. I mean, and people were living nearby that, and of course, I'm sure there was an impact on environmentally, but just to look at the color of it was like, oh my God, this is kind of like trippy, I guess.
There were also a lot of stories about people getting Alzheimer from the aluminum smog. I don't know if it was true or not, but it had an influence on the songs, on the song "Missing Sequences" on Nothing Face. Yeah.
Yeah, and what are like your favorite Canadian bands? Can you name it?
There's a lot. I mean, there's Exciter, Anvil,
Rush.
Rush, of course. What else?
No Means No, DOA, Day Glow Abortions. There were a lot of great bands. SNFU, yeah. Well, in the 90s, it's more of a Chewie's generation, Cryptopsy, Cataclysm, Gorgots. All of a sudden, we started to cross paths in Europe and USA with bands from Montreal, which is great. Yeah.
And how important was Jason Newsted for you guys when he came into the band?
I think Jason had a great impact on the band. You know, he helped us to get us on a bigger stage with bigger touring opportunities, and he really put his input into the band as a writer as well, and it created something like that period of Jason is kind of like different from the rest of it, but and it's a good thing, because he brought his own thing to the band.
He also had his own studio, his own label, and he's a great driving force. And his playing is a bit, to me, like Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. So it made me play more like in a stoner rock mode, I think. Yep.
And was he writing riffs in Voivod? Did he take part in the creative process on these albums?
What?
Did he write the riffs?
Yeah.
It was part of the whole process from the beginning till the end, the mixing or everything.
The 3 albums we did with him, he wrote the bass parts, and he was part of he's really part of the band, It's just that when Piggy passed away, Jason, he had such a strong musical connection with Piggy that he was more focused on finishing 14 and Infini, and after that, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true that Piggy could play songs backwards. That he used to learn songs.
Yeah, he was learning songs backwards, like songs from Yes and Genesis, and it was like when he was in his room at his parents' house, he was like trying to figure out what it would sounds to be like in reverse, and yeah, he had like a great strange technique as well, and the tree tone thing, and he had a different way of visualize music, and so
He spent hours spinning records backwards and recording them so we could listen to them at the jam space, and he also opened cassettes with a screwdriver, flipped the tape over, and then we could listen to the music backwards, and that's how we came up with many backward riffs and beats and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think that Morbid Angel did something like that. They were playing their riffs, but from backwards, and you can notice that that's like that riff, but reversed. That's cool. And can you guys recall some Piggy stories, some crazy moments with Piggy?
Oh, we have so many. I mean, Piggy was he was a nice guy first, always smiley. I never seen him complain about anything. Like sometimes life on the road is really tough, but I never seen him complaining about anything. He was really a happy guy, a smiley guy, and so many good, weird, or whatever stories happened during all these tours we did. And but I think my favorite memory of all that is just like when I think about Piggy's his smiling face. That's my favorite thing in my head. It's just like, okay, there is stories there, which we take long to explain, but I miss him a lot still. And
what about you? Do you have some favorite Piggy stories?
Yes, my favorite one is when we toured with Celtic Frost, we were attacked by a gang in San Diego, and the drummer from Celtic Frost, Reed St. Mark, he had like very, very big drumsticks, and they were like demonstration sticks for a drum shop, and he used to play a solo with it. And then when the gang attacked us, Piggy grabbed both sticks and started to fight with the gang with the two sticks. It was amazing.
It's like Leonardo from Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's Ninja Piggy.
Can you tell us something about your book?
Oh, the book came out in 2009, right after we reformed. So it has drawings from '76 to 2008, and I'm working on a second book that it takes it picks up where this ends. Yeah.
When it's going
I don't know. I'm still working on it, and there are still about 500 copies left in USA of that book. So we're sort of waiting for it to be sold out, and then Spider Press is going to release a new book.
Can you tell me like what's the price of your artworks for some bands that want
It really depends what they want. If they want black and white or color or many details, or I will usually go with the budget. If they, if they have 500 euros, I'll do something, and if they have 1,000, I'll do a little more, and so on and so on.
price it start for?
Oh, it's a couple of thousand euros. You would get a very decent piece, yeah.
Do you like robots? How much time it took?
Probot took me a long time because I had a very old computer, and it was before I bought a digital pen and a tablet, so I did everything with a mouse. But Dave Grohl was very generous, so I was able to spend many months on it.
And can you guys say something about the latest album?
Well, well, it's something that we're really proud of. First, I think we put a lot of effort into it. I think we gave everything we had, really, and for us, like doing another sort of like concept album, it's really exciting, and I hope people's gonna love it. I think the reaction so far with the few release that we just did. The few singles that we just released is amazing. The response is great, and I can't wait till when it's out and when.
Oh yeah, it's just the amount of work Chewy put in that album is really crazy because it's super intricate. As soon as Snake said he wanted to write a story for the whole album, it kind of became a puzzle, so we had to write on the road, in the back of the bus or backstage, and started recording in the last fall and we finished recording in the spring. So we put layers and layers and layers of music, and it's Chewy's masterpiece, I think, and it's very complicated and prog rock. So yeah, I think people will have to listen to it many times before grasping the whole thing.
Do you guys have some final words for the fans?
Oh, just for me, I just wanted to thank all the people in Europe who's been supporting us for now 35 years. So thank you to the Voivodians.
And I hope we're gonna keep going, keep going and going and going.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.